Welcome, everyone. It's really good to have you here. Uh, this is Journey to Oneness for Committed Dating and Engaged. And we are on week 4 tonight. We are covering confession, repentance, and forgiveness, which is a lot. There's a lot there. You should have received the participant's guide, and you may have felt like it was kind of heavy on the reading, heavy on the homework. But, this is such a really important part of relationships. And I would also say that not all of us have a good model for it growing up. So you see, we never really stray far from family of origin in our classes, in our teachings, or in the things that we share. Let me just hold on a second. Let's see. Oh, thank you. Shinda is waiting for me to let her in. There we go. And Sean. So thank you, guys. So we've got a few activities we're going to start out with tonight, and then Q and Kelly, I'm going to have them introduce themselves, and they'll be sharing with us tonight. They're going to be teaching forgiveness. So it's going to be a full night, but I do always like to start and ask if there's any questions from last week, from the homework, about emails. Anything anybody's missing or would like to ask or add? You know what? Right now I'm drawing a blank. What did we do last week? Oh, self-protective vows with Donald and Michelle. Yeah, that's usually a pretty, there's a lot to discover there. I would like to just give you an exhortation. A challenge to not skip that homework, to really make a time, set aside a time for yourself to do that for yourself, and then also a time to share with one another. There was that great form in there that you can use if you feel like you need to, kind of like a template on how to do it. But you will see it. If you haven't already seen it in your relationship, most people have, but if you haven't seen it pop up, you will. And it's just great to already have some communication around that. And I even think it's good to have some common language. One of the things that I always like to tell folks is that Ron and Barbara, who you might remember from week 1, they are able to do this in their marriage. I don't know if it would work for everyone, but when they start, when behaviors start popping up that are from their family of origin, they call each other. She calls him by his father's name, and he calls her by her mother's name. So, there's like behaviors that they've identified that actually are kind of really close to what they were modeled growing up, and it just helps to kind of check. And they say, okay, I don't know what her name is. Let's say Helen, or okay, John, which of course then is their way of knowing. Yeah, maybe I need to stop and start again, or check myself. So my husband and I often early in our marriage, we don't really need to as much anymore, but we used the word tone with him. So he had a very critical mom growing up, and her tone, I sometimes heard coming from him. Her tone sounded to me, now let's just be real clear here. I grew up in a home where no one really ever said anything strongly, and we tried to keep the peace all the time. So any level of raising your voice or, talking down to somebody, I'm real sensitive to that. But so it doesn't mean that she was so awful. It just means I pick up on it. So when he would talk to our son, I would hear, "You stupid." It was that kind of like how can you think that, or how can you do that? Or he didn't recognize it. My husband never heard it. He never actually said to me, you know what, you're right. That is what I sound like. So we never agreed on it, but he did agree that if I said tone, this is when our son was really small, he would check himself, and it worked for us. So code words are great because then you don't have to go through the whole thing. You know, I don't have a tone. Yes, you do. No, I don't. You know, you don't have to do that. You've come to the place where you say, this is what I experience when this happens. Can we do this? And you set up this kind of, like I said, a code or some common language so that it's easily addressed. And that does work sometimes. So it's a little helpful hint. Are we ready to start our class for tonight then? Give it some nods.
Looks like people.
Okay, so I don't want to put anyone on the spot, but if you could show your camera, if you could turn your cameras on, we're going to do some fun stuff, and I just always like it. It feels really good when I can see your faces, especially if you're going to speak. So what we're going to start with tonight is I want you to look at each other, and I want you to say to one another, I'm going to mess up at times.
I'm going to mess up at times.
Okay, I'm going to be wrong at times.
I'm going to be wrong at times.
And I'm going to be ignorant at times.
I'm going to be ignorant at times.
Okay, good job. Now, you're going to mess up at times.
You're going to mess up at times.
You are. And you're going to be wrong.
You're going to be wrong.
And you're going to be ignorant at times.
You're going to be ignorant at times.
There you go. Okay, we got that out of the way. It's a thing. But, you know, and by the way, ignorant can also mean not get me. You know, like it was what you said or did was because you didn't understand. That could be what ignorance means. It doesn't mean you are an ignorant person, but that you might not be clear at all times on what's going on with the other person, which is completely acceptable. Especially if you say it's acceptable. We will talk through it. All right, so I'm going to switch around a little bit here, Kuhn Kelly. I'm going to have you introduce yourself after this exercise. We're going to do what I call a whiteboard exercise. Of course, I don't have a whiteboard here, but I am going to type or write down some things, and then we can send them out later. But I want to ask you to give your ideas to me, unmute yourself, and offer your ideas to this question. What makes it difficult to forgive someone? So for you, or maybe, you know, in your life, or maybe you know somebody, we don't need the story. We just need, what would make it, do you think would make it difficult to forgive someone? And again, I'm going to make a list.
I would say if somebody does something intentionally to hurt another person, that makes it
okay. So intentional.
Mm-hmm.
That would make it hard. Yeah. Okay. What else?
I would say not having the person apologize makes it really hard to forgive them. You don't hear the words.
Yeah. So someone they're not sorry. They don't feel remorse over what they've done. That would make it really difficult too. That's I like to give little tidbits here. That makes it really difficult. And yet we really want to take time to think about who it's hurting when we don't forgive. So, you know, like if the person doesn't have to be sorry for us to forgive, we can be free ourselves quicker if we can. We don't want to rush it or do it instead, like not, inauthentically, but we can forgive. So that makes it very difficult when the person is not sorry. What else?
When the person makes excuses.
They make excuses. Mhm. So justify. Maybe
Yeah.
they justify what they did. Yeah. Not many of us enjoy it when folks do that, do we? It's that's what I call the but. Well, yeah, but you're too sensitive, or yeah, but I really had a long day, or the but, it kind of erases what happened, and then the excuse comes in. So there may be reasons, but we want to be careful about making excuses. It's really good. What else?
I would say, like, if they repeat the same thing over and over, it's kind of hard to take their, take it genuinely if they do, if you do forgive
Yes.
them.
Repeatedly. So
Yeah.
there's a repeat offense. You all may have been in relationships long enough to know that's pretty common.
Yeah.
We tend to, remember we talked about triggers last week. We tend to have the same things go on. And so again, that makes it really difficult to forgive. And yet we know that we're not doing it in our own strength. Right? Do you guys remember in the gospel when Jesus asked the disciples, or they asked him, how many times, Lord, do we need to forgive? 7 times? That's a lot. If somebody offends you, especially in the same way 7 times, that's a lot. And they were like, is that enough? And he says, no, 70 times 7, which is like, infinity, right? Who keeps count that far? So we can't do it in our own strength. And yet there's something to be discovered about Jesus in being able to do it and look for growth. So, yeah. What else?
I think oftentimes it's hard to forgive because we don't really fully understand that forgiveness is really for ourselves.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, because if that one of the things is, and it's in the Bible, that we have to forgive so God can forgive us. And that's, if we know that, if we fully understand that, then maybe some of us would forgive just a little bit easier, I think. But another thing is,
I think that
I thought about.
Go ahead, Rodney.
Oh, I'm sorry.
No, you go ahead.
There was a time where I wanted to sometimes get even before I forgive, but yeah, I had that spirit before. And another thing is, I wanted to see that person, get probably the kind of treatment that I got, to feel like they understood how I felt, or demonstrate to me that they have, they really are sorry for what they've done.
Wow.
So it's, and that was a bad way of looking at it, but that's how it would feel, is like, how do I really know if they're sorry? Like, why do I feel like I have to forgive this person? Because if they are really sorry, I would see some evidence. So I don't know.
Yeah. Well, that's very human, right? This is our human side of our spirit. And you mentioned get even. You want them to hurt too. You want them to experience that too, and then not sorry. You said, I just want to be clear. You said something about if we don't forgive them, God won't forgive us. And I like to give it a little bit more flushing out and say, if I thought about all the times that God had forgiven me, how could I not forgive what what this person has done. You know, or if God kept track of how many times I had a repeat offense, wasn't sorry, you know, all of these things, tried to justify what I did. If he kept track of that and wouldn't give that to me, I don't know where I'd be, you know, but he has given that to me. And so that's an encouragement for me to say, God, I'm having a hard time forgiving this person. Will you help me? I can't, but you can. And so we're looking to Jesus to give us that, what we need. And I will tell you guys, I mean, in my experience, I've been married for almost 28 years, and it comes like a miracle sometimes. Sometimes all it takes is a touch. Sometimes you take a nap and you wake up and it's there, you know, or I don't know, there's just so many versions of it, but when I hear myself saying that I can't do it, I think that is a chance to let God work. He can help. We can't do it ourselves. But let's keep going. Did anybody else think of other reasons?
I think sometimes our understanding of forgiveness is skewed in that, especially in Christian circle, we often would say if somebody offends us, like, oh, but I forgive you, without allowing ourselves to acknowledge how it impacts us and like emotionally processing it, and that it is a process. In other words, you're just saying it, but you don't really work through it internally.
Yes, Chenda, yeah. And we're going to talk a little bit about that tonight in our forgiveness teaching. So I won't go into it much now, but yes, we want to be able, we might need to say, I know I will, but I really need time. It's okay to do that, but you might need to talk about that some more. So too early, I think is what you're saying. Too quickly forgive. Yeah. And then you find out you haven't really forgiven. That can be messy. Anything else? Anybody else? How about the closeness of the relationship? Like it's harder to forgive when it's someone that's very close to us sometimes, as opposed to maybe a friend that we don't know very well or work or something. We kind of said this, but I like someone minimizes what happens. That's kind of like what Brooke said. Minimizes. Okay, well, let's move on to the second question. Very similar, but you might have some different answers for this. What makes it difficult for you to ask for forgiveness? Maybe, maybe you never have. I do it all the time. So I'm getting good at it. Anybody find it difficult to ask forgiveness?
I'm sorry, Kelly, can you repeat your question? I just didn't hear you.
Sure. It's what makes it difficult for you to ask for forgiveness, or for others even, people you know.
Pride.
Ooh. Ouch, yeah. So pride. And so that means I don't want to admit that I was wrong.
Correct.
Something wrong.
Embarrassment.
Oh yeah. And that's kind of pride. That's image management, right? I don't want to be seen that way, or I don't want to. So yeah, embarrassed.
And I think the other one is be disappointed in yourself.
Oh yeah. All of those things are painful so far. What else?
We were just discussing how we think maybe it's hard to say sorry when you don't feel like you did anything wrong. Like you can't see the other person's perspective. So they're saying they're hurt. And if you don't why are you hurt? You don't understand.
Mm-hmm. So I don't understand what happened. I don't think I did anything wrong. And you know what, you guys, that again is superhuman. That is how we see things. And yet if you think about all the things we've done so far in class, the things we're going to keep doing, we are asking you to say, okay, I don't think I did anything wrong. I don't understand what happened, but I'm going to put a pin in that. And I'm going to say, what did you experience? You know, like, so tell me more. You guys, that is like one of the $1 million phrases. And I hope you will learn to include it. You guys will know that that it's a skill. But when I say to my husband, tell me more, it means I'm not getting ready to tell him why he's wrong. It means I'm not going to contradict him. It means, okay, you've got my attention. Tell me more about why that upset you. And so this is serving one another. That's what this is. In America, being right. Think about our media. Think about our politics. Think about our, television shows, game shows, whatever it is, talk shows, podcasts. Being right is like a very high, individualistic and right. Like, I know what's what, I've got the answer. And so when we are married to someone, when we have children, Jesus said, unless I wash your feet, you have no place in me. Jesus served us. And so he's modeling for us to serve one another. So when I don't know what I did wrong, when I don't feel like it's fair, like I'm being given a fair shake, can I put that on hold and allow the other person to explain more so that I can say, gosh, how about you didn't mean to do it? That ever happened? Like, that's not what I meant for you to, I didn't mean that. You know what that is? That's when self-protective vows have been triggered. And they like react and you think, whoa, that wasn't what I meant. And so when this happens, you get to say, okay, tell me more. Like what just happened there? Because I'm not on the same page and I want to be. So what Anthony and Allie brought up is human. And what I'm bringing up, what I'm saying the answer is to that is superhuman. It's not in our vocabulary. It's not in the way we think to say, okay, I'm going to set myself aside here and I'm going to set fairness aside. And I'm going to see what is going on for this person. And if you still can't understand it, say, can we come back to this later? Because it's likely someone's gotten triggered and you're not going to get logical. You may want logical. Go ahead.
No, sorry, go ahead. No, finish, I'm sorry.
Yeah, you may want it to be logical, but you may not get that unless you can stop and come back. Go ahead, Melody.
So I was gonna say, so pretty much, because what I did not hear you say, and I know that I've seen people do this a lot, is to just say, oh, well, I'm sorry if you feel that way. And they just say it to kind of mush it, push it over and just like, oh, I just want to settle this. So I'm just gonna apologize. I don't really know what it was. I don't really believe I did anything. I am totally clueless. But hey, sorry. And then they'll kind of like, is that, because I didn't hear you use that, but I know that that's something that people do use. And then I'm like, oh, maybe I need to just apologize, even if I don't feel it too yet or whatever, because it's that like, are they doing it the right way? And maybe I'm doing it the wrong way because maybe my way is more prideful. And so maybe I should just automatically apologize and then maybe something will catch on. So I don't know. And so,
Yeah, I think the key word there is if. I'm sorry if you got hurt. If your feelings were hurt. That's not a good response. And so I would say you know, I don't know about right and wrong. I like to stay away from that, although I just said that was wrong to do that. But a better way is to say, tell me more. Like, I don't know, like if somebody says that to you, say, I never thought about this. If someone said to me, I'm sorry if your feelings were hurt, anybody have a good response for that that would not be escalating? It's kind of hard. Yeah. I'm gonna have to think about that. It is difficult, not, first of all, not to react to that. But Melody, you're right. Like that doesn't promote understanding. That doesn't promote change. When they just kind of just go, oh, that was that. So yeah, and I think in my video, the repentance part of the video that was pre-class, I kind of went through some ways, or it's also in your homework tonight. You can look at the reading homework. There are ways in which, that this is really not the right thing to say, and that, how to say, I'm sorry, the right language for repentance. So you guys can try things out, but you can even, let's be preemptive. Ask one another, how have you been hurt when someone has not seen or heard you when you were offended? Or, what is that like for you when that happens? Again, maybe, not everything can be avoided, I guess is what I'm trying to say. A lot of times you're going to find yourself in the middle of it and you're going to go, oh, that, this is not who we want to be. This isn't how we want our marriage to be. And so let's have a do-over. let's take some time to see how we got where we are. And, there's going to be tempers and emotions and, offense, as we said last week, or we're going to talk about that this week. So let's see. Anybody else have a reason that something that makes it difficult for them to forgive, to ask forgiveness? Sorry. Oh, is that Myron? We can't hear you. I'm sorry.
Is that better?
A little bit. We can try. Go ahead.
Okay, I would feel like the notion of fear, because you can want someone to forgive you, but you have fear that they don't really forgive you. So you're saying it, but you still have that fear from thinking that you're not good.
I'm sorry, Myron, I couldn't make it out. Did anyone else make it out? No?
I thought he was saying that you can have a feeling that the person doesn't really forgive you. Is that what you were saying?
Yeah,
That they don't know.
And that you can kind of feel that. So then I would think that then you would be probably like really hesitant to, again, after you saw that time. And I've experienced that as well. Where it's like, you didn't really, so I won't ask again, because when you feel vulnerable.
Yeah, so you think the person won't forgive you. Yeah. That would make it very difficult. Yeah. I think we've got all the others that I had on here. Yep. That's a really good one. Okay, so you won't be forgiven. So, I don't have an answer for everything, as we just found out, but for this, I do want to exhort you, encourage you to ask God for courage to ask anyway. If you can even say to the person, it's so hard for me to ask, but I do desire to have your forgiveness. And of course, it might mean, having to say you're sorry, but Again, we always, I think last week I said, or the week before, we don't use these things against one another. And so you're working your stuff with the Lord, and where you get hit, where you get triggered, tripped up, is going to help you when you're together. Yes, Brooke, I see your hand.
Yeah, I was just wondering, so, and this might be a silly question, but if they say they're sorry, is that the same thing as asking for forgiveness? Or do they have to like specifically say, like, do you forgive me?
I would say it depends. I would say it depends on the offense.
Okay.
Like if my husband cut me off when I was talking and he said he was sorry, I wouldn't also say, will you ask for forgiveness for that, you know?
Right.
But if it is something that is, you know, like that was I don't want to say a more grievous offense or something where I felt betrayed or, you know, that maybe has hurt trust, something like that would be a yes. You know, spending money without sharing, letting the other person know. Something like that would be forgiveness. And again, forgiveness comes after you've had that confession and repentance. So we're going to talk about the forgiveness next. So does that help, Brooke?
Yeah, it does. Thank you.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, I think it depends on the impact of the offense. All right. Well, you guys did a great job. This was fun. So you've got some things to think about there. And on that note, I think we are going to have Kelly and Q introduce themselves. And for this part, I'm going to put the PowerPoint up. So you won't see everybody while Q and Kelly are teaching. You'll see them and probably me. And but then we'll come back after that and we're going to do an exercise and do a worksheet together. So Kelly and Q, why don't you introduce yourselves while everyone's faces are still up and I'll share the PowerPoint.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to Journey to Oneness. I want to tell you guys, this is an awesome class, by the way. We went through this class about 2 years ago. It's awesome. We are marriage coaches with Vineyard. My name is Kelly. This is my husband, Q. We are now celebrating our 3rd year anniversary. We've been married 3 years. Our anniversary was on March 17th, which is on St. Patrick's Day.
Oh, wow.
Yes, we have a blended family. We have, how many kids we got?
6.
We have 6 kids between us. I also have a granddaughter. She will be 2 in August. So I know I look super young, but yeah, we love Vineyard. We've been going to Vineyard for the last 4 years. And we love working with Kelly and helping with the classes, and yeah, that's pretty much it.
Yeah. So what do you do?
Anything you want to add, Q?
No, I think she's gonna ask, what do you do? Because we were asking. Well, she took everything.
Well, I work for the county, so I'm a caseworker for the county.
Okay. And what part of the county? Caseworker for what?
Franklin County for child support.
Okay. All right.
Yep.
Q, what about you?
My name is Qwante, Q if for short. My wife, she actually introduced everything. So
Yeah.
All right.
and stuff like that. So as far as the ages of the kids, we have on her side, she has 21.
Yeah, my oldest is
21. Otis is 21. Girl, woman. So they're 14. Girl.
She is 16.
Well, 16.
She just turned 16.
I keep thinking, my bad.
Maybe
She
you
just
should
turned
do this part.
She just turned 16 April 28th.
right,
So.
April 20th. And then we have a 12-year-old, which she has a 12-year-old boy.
Yes.
So, and then me, I have a 22-year-old son, and then I have a 12-year-old daughter, and then I have a 5-year-old. So, yeah.
Yes, busy.
Yeah,
Guys got a lot.
So,
Makes it even more amazing that you're here.
Yes. Definitely.
Definitely. So we let's see, I don't know what else do I I do architectural drafting, so yeah. But
Okay. All right.
yeah.
Thanks, guys. So we ready to start the PowerPoint then?
Yes.
Okay. Here you go. All right. I'm going to fast forward through the repentance. And
Okay.
there we go.
I don't think it's a full slide, Kelly.
It's not?
Yeah, it's like split. It's dual. It doesn't have the full slide up.
Uh-oh. Let's see. What would that? Nope. That wasn't it.
Go back.
Yeah.
I think maybe try that. Try this screen at the bottom to see if that does it.
Screen at the bottom?
Yeah, the little box at the bottom beside the search, the circle, right underneath the slide.
This one?
Go over to the right. Try that. Oh no, sorry, that's not it.
Well, guys, can you see the slide at all? Hi, presenter view.
Yeah, I can
How about
see
that?
them. There we go.
There
I
you
can
go.
see them. Can you guys see the slides?
Oh, we can't see their faces. I think so. If you can see it, they can, Kelly.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, awesome. All right, so we're going to talk about forgiveness in marriage. And
Whoop, hold on. Sorry. Go ahead.
Okay, it's on the first slide. It's not on the forgiveness.
Wow.
There we go. All right, so we're going to talk about forgiveness in marriage. And 1 Colossians 3:13, it tells us to bear with each other and forgive whatever grievances you may have against one another, and forgive as the Lord forgave you. So 2 people desiring to live in a godly environment and have a Christ-centered relationship must understand and know that their willingness to have a Christ-centered relationship will follow with offenses. There will be times where there will be offenses that are in the relationship. You must be willing to acknowledge your tendency or your ability to offend the other person, as well as your, as being overly sensitive. We can also be overly sensitive to an offense as well. And it's important to keep in mind that in your relationship that we can't control the attitude or behavior of another person. I can't control how you think and feel just as well as you can't control how I think and feel. But through it all, we must be, able to respond to each other in an appropriate way when we are offended. In the book of Luke, chapter 17, Jesus does tell us that we will be offended. And there's danger. I'm still on the first slide, Kelly.
Oh.
There's danger when we only forgive in our minds. And like earlier, Rodney was talking about, if I don't forgive this person, then God won't forgive me. And sometimes we do have a tendency to think that way, but we must engage God on a heart level. So we must be able to forgive with our hearts. and we must be intentional about forgiveness, meaning forgiveness takes action, not just thinking about forgiveness in our minds. And it's important also to keep in mind that our response to our partner, how I respond to my husband, is going to be crucial. And if we're going to approach our partner, we must approach in a godly way.
Exactly. That's the number one thing. So
you can go to the next slide, Kelly.
So the next slide. Offense and forgiveness. Offense, it says Luke chapter 17, verse 1. Then he said to the disciples, it is impossible that no offense should come, but woe to him though through whom they do come. The Greek word for offense is scandalon. So scandalon. It's like, scandalous. Sorry.
Yeah. I can't believe you did this to me.
Right. But so if we focus on trying not to take offense, we will keep thinking about the offense. This is just how our minds work. People are lured and enticed into sin as a result of desire. Wanting is the beginning of sinning. So James chapter 1, verse 14, it says, but every man is tempted when he is drawn away from his own lust and enticed. So every sin or bad behavior begins with desire. Here's an example of bad desire, and this is in our thoughts. If this person says one wrong word to me, I'm going to let them have it. So I think that was what Rodney said before. So to eliminate a bad behavior, we must first discover the desire behind it. The way to prevent taking offense is to address our desires for security. As long as feelings of security are rooted in ourselves, the tendency to take offense, even at the littlest thing, will exist. Okay, so 1 Peter chapter 4, verse 8, it says, love covers a multitude of sins. Covering the offense of your spouse or your partner shows the love of God. In love of God, you as far as in your growing. So here's some. I'm sorry, I got throw because for Mother's Day. I'm sorry, we got activities over here. we got flowers right here. Our oldest. I'm a show and tell person. Our oldest had brought flowers for Mother's Day. So she came in. Sorry.
Oh, that's fine.
Yeah. So anyways, so
let's get back on track.
So here are some examples of covering. Perhaps he did not mean what he said. Perhaps she misunderstood me. Perhaps they were having a bad day or wasn't thinking straight. Here's an example of a time, where me and my wife, and she was offended. So we were driving to a dentist appointment, and my daughter's birthday. Our daughter's birthday was coming up. So I said I wanted to go ahead and get a tablet, and my wife came out and said, hey, I want to go ahead and get a tablet too, So jokingly, I said, hey, you can't get a tablet when I'm getting a tablet for my daughter. You know what I'm saying? So she was offended on that one.
Too much money? Is that too much money? Is that okay?
Right. So basically, my wife was upset. She was offended. So I explained that I was joking. I thought maybe she misunderstood me. I apologized for the offense. I didn't bring it up again. So back again, I explained that I was joking. I thought maybe she misunderstood me. I apologized for the offense, and then I didn't bring it back up again. That's a good thing. So to sum it up, when we take offense, it is because someone has hurt us or frightened us. God has given us two ways to deal with the offense. First, by remembering that the other person also has things that hurt them and frighten them too. When we love the offender and focus on their needs, like covering or overlooking, we will no longer notice the offense. So,
Okay, so the reason I got offended is because of his response. Sometimes we take offense off of the person's tone. So, I mean, it was just a response because he was so serious and so focused. And, you know, I was kind of joking and he didn't know if I was joking. I didn't know if he was joking. So his response, I'm like, wait a minute. So it was the tone, okay? So the next we're going to talk about what forgiveness is not, okay? Forgiveness is not, and here you have a list of things that Kelly provided us here on the slide, things that forgiveness is not. And it's not about forgetting. It does not mean we get to deny justice or consequences. It does not mean we deny what happened or play pretend. And it's not merely just our Christian duty. So I have a little analogy here that I want to share to kind of better explain, to kind of give you a picture. So when I thought about this, I said, well, we can't merely just sweep. Like if we're cleaning our house and we're trying to get our house together and we have this rug and we're sweeping and we're cleaning and we just sweep everything under the rug, right? We just sweep dirt, everything. And the house is not clean, right? Because everything is under the rug. So we can't, really say that it's clean the same way we can't say that we've forgiven if we've not put the action to the test and actually forgave. And unforgiveness prevents us from growing. It prevents us from growing spiritually mature in our relationships and within ourselves. And it also prevents us from having a connection with our spouse, our partner, with God, with other people. Unforgiveness does not allow us to see each other how God sees us. So if we have any unforgiveness in our hearts, I can't really see him how God sees him, or how I should see him, how God wants me to see him. And when we forgive, we are honoring the Lord. We honor God when we forgive. And God honors us when we are committed to him. He honors us when we're committed to our spouse. So all who receive the forgiveness of God, we should be forgiving others. God forgave us, so we should also be forgiving others for the sake of being reconciled to God. That's what reconciles us to God, is our forgiveness. And as we forgive, we lay down any entitlements or anger. We may need to forgive more often. We may need to forgive multiple times. Forgiving is a consistent thing. The more we forgive, the less our response is sinful. So the more we forgive, the less we'll have a sinful response to our spouse or anyone. And I think about unforgiveness like this. Unforgiveness is like a cancer. A cancer, because harboring that pain, harboring that grudge that you have against the other person